This episode is brought to you by Mastermind Models and Miniatures and Liber Demonica. Hi guys, welcome to Counterpoints. My name is Connor, and today is an episode of Less Than 10 Lore, where I will break down a part of the Warhammer universe in a short amount of time for your enjoyment. Today, I'm going to be breaking down the social structure and evolution of the Genestealer cult, but also point out how this parallels into our own world, particularly when it comes to historical attempts at communism. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, that Games Workshop is at their strongest when they're paying homage to history, other stories, or religions, and fit it organically into the Warhammer universe. Looking at the art, propaganda, and proletarian roots of the Genestealer cult uprisings, it's obvious some of it is inspired by the revolutionary communists of the 20th century. In my perspective, so is the result. But considering this is a 40K channel now, and not all of you are going to be political nerds, what am I talking about? Well, to break it down really simple, Karl Marx, a 19th century philosopher, advocated for two kinds of social change in the world: socialism and communism. Marx viewed the current world of capitalism as rich beyond measure, allowing mankind to flourish in so many ways, but also flounder in despair in so many ways. The haves had plenty, and the have-nots had next to nothing. In this structure, Marx found two groups, the bourgeois and the proletariat. Bourgeois are those who owned businesses or quote-unquote the means of production, and the proletariat are those who worked for the businesses, giving them their function. The fundamental imbalance between these two classes causes social strife, where the justified resentment of the massed poor and working class would have to eventually rise up and capture the means of production, setting themselves free from the oppressive bourgeois upper class. Socialism would be a stepping stone where basic human needs were guaranteed and workers owned the means of production. Communism would be a hyper-egalitarian society where there was no money, no state, no class, and all would work for the collective good of humanity. But Connor, the hive mind and the brood mind have nothing to do with this. They're completely unrelated. Not so fast there, young gun. The biological processes of the Genestealer cult might have little to do with communism or socialism, but how they seize power is absolutely analogous to Marxist-Leninism, also known as vanguard communism. Vanguard communists believe the masses are too slow to seek their own freedom and are little more than slave cattle bowing to their own subservience. What was needed was an elite group of intellectuals, academics, economists, soldiers, and workers to lead the unwashed masses to glory and salvation. Thus enter the Genestealer cult. The proletariat in the 40K universe are even called the proletariat in the Interrogator series, showing the recognition of these classes. Not just that, but from agri-world farmers to foundry world workers, the servants of the Imperium are viewed as innumerable, disposable, and fodder for the perpetual wars of the Imperium. Entire lore videos are dedicated to just how cruel the Imperium is to its own citizens, and how to be an average person in this society is synonymous with suffering. The Genestealer cult offers a solution to the suffering through the embrace of the many-armed god. A single Genestealer, the vanguard of the Hive Fleet, can sneak onto a planet and hunt and stalk to survive. Once it finds a good place to breed, it will entice its prey. Humans are particularly attractive targets due to their abundant nature and their short lifespans. A solitary human will be entranced by the Genestealer's psychic gaze and injected with an ovipositor. Rather than an alien-style rupture, the infected contagi, as it's known in High Gothic, will return to its people with an overriding urge to breed. This compulsion then infects their mate, who then conspire through wile and manipulation to bring more and more sacrificial pawns to the Genestealer. It's not just the malformed offspring that are psychically linked to the original Genestealer, but those merely infected with the ovipositor genetic mutations. Within a single generation cycle, hundreds of thousands can become infected, giving birth to half-human, half-tiered monstrosities, who are in turn bred into a near-perfect mimicry of humanity. This generation of hybrids will give birth to the primacy, the vanguard leaders who will usher in salvation. The parallels to nature are clear, with the ovipositor being a real fertilizing injector found on bugs, and the mating strategy being that of the cuckoo bird, swapping out its own spawn for that of the host mother. It's even mentioned that human beings infected with the ovipositor Genestealer mutation will view their horrifically malformed offspring as they would any human child, similar to as we saw in the most recent Hammer and Bolter episode. The parallels to Vanguard communism are also clear, with the legitimate grievances of the proletariat brought to a boil by the cult. The cult, through its seductions and mutations, placed Contagi and Genestealer cult members in the highest positions of power with access to all of the levers. Workmen, dock workers, union bosses, gang members, enforcers, local politicians, and even members of the governor's cabinet are infected and converted to the aims of the cult. Once all the pieces are in place, a psychic beacon is lit, shot out to the original Tyranid Hive fleet that the planet is now ready for consumption. In a frenzy, the cult rises, decapitating and severing all the major political, security, and logistics infrastructures in a matter of hours. Because of the psychic link to the original Genestealer, all of these actions can be done with precision, synchronicity, shocking into submission any attempts to resist. The Genestealer, now bloated on its prey and massive psychic network, emerges to fight it amongst its kin as a brood lord. As they cut down the planet's defense, the Hive fleet will land to consume all. Now allow me a little bit of artistic license. The Genestealer cult has gained support through psychic and genetic enhancement, but also through promising the proletariat that in a single glorious revolution, they will overthrow their masters and gain freedom and bliss never before thought of. They eliminate basic survival needs through cooperation, and at the end of the revolution, it is only the cult that will remain in power. I believe that while the Genestealer cult doesn't actually yell from each according to his ability and to each according to his need, it's barely a stretch to imagine that. When the Tyranid Hive fleet arrives, the Genestealer cult continues to delude itself that they are on the peak of salvation. But when the brood mind sublimates itself to the hive mind, the psychic link is broken. Men, women, and mutants are now adrift from the ecstasy they were promised and instead stare into the open maw of monsters who seek only their biomass. I think this is one final parallel to history in which the vanguards of communism are often consumed by their peers, deemed insufficiently egalitarian for the aims of the party, and then summarily executed. So, I had an incredible time scripting this, writing this, thinking about this, all this kind of stuff. It's been super fun. If you enjoyed this video, like, share, subscribe, dislike, all that YouTube nonsense. If you can't think of anything to comment, number one, give me your theories. Number two, type in comment for the comment gods if you can't think of anything. Check out the other content on the channel. Consider joining the Discord and the Patreon if so inclined. Check out the channel sponsors, and I'll catch you in the next one. Hey you! Yes you. Are you drowning in plastic crack? Do you keep buying models and never have them painted? Is your pile of shame bigger than the models you actually have done? The team at Mastermind Models and Miniatures can help, or M3 Studios if you prefer. The team at M3 Studios and their Mastermind/Master Painter Clay are just like you, addicted to plastic crack and have channeled their addiction into a passion and a profession. They paint kick-ass models to whatever standard or solution you need. Their motto is professional painting services to bring your imagination to life. Trying to just get on the tabletop? M3 Studios can do that. Trying to shock and awe your local game store? M3 Studios can do that too. Want a piece of art that your descendants will fight over at your funeral? M3 Studios can do that, and it's easy. Click on the link or in the description, and you can talk to M3 Studios directly about your commission. Tell them the Counterpoints channel sent you, and not only are you guaranteed an awesome paint job at a fair price, but you help the Counterpoints channel continue to grow. What is there to lose? Stop buying models you will never paint, and instead let Clay and the M3 Studios team help you dominate your local friendly game store and show off the best painted models this side of the Mississippi. Start your commission today.